Hey guys, Mark here from Okitog, and tonight it's that time of the month again where I'm planning to head out to shoot the Milky Way. I'm going to be heading up to a place called Sea Glass Beach, which is one of the famous beaches here in Okinawa, where people will go to collect, funnily enough, sea glass. But tonight it's a beach that faces in a southerly direction, so with a nice clear view between southeast and southwest, which is the trajectory of the Milky Way here in Okinawa. But what I'm going to do, I've shot many months of Milky Way here, so, and I'm sure some of you have seen that imagery, something like this. But what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to be using a new filter. Now it's very rare that you actually use filters for Milky Way photography, because you need to have as much light and as much exposure time as possible without putting anything in front of the lens. However, the cunning people at KANI Filters have asked me to try this. Now you see this kind of what looks like a purpley kind of glass filter. This is what they call, hold on, the Prevention Light Pollution Filter. Okay, and what that does in effect, or in theory, is that it reduces the amount of ambient light pollution. So I'm going to be finding myself shooting for an extended shutter time of around 30 seconds, and with a super high ISO 32 minimum, maybe even 64 depending on the conditions. I've never shot the Milky Way from this location, so it will be an adventure for me as well. But what I'm aiming to do, obviously, is to record as much as possible the image of the Milky Way without getting too much light pollution in the image. Okay, and that is what this filter apparently reduces. So I'm going to do a back-to-back shoot using this filter and no filter, and we'll see what the results are. Okay, camera-wise, put that there. Camera-wise, I'm going to be going up with my trusted demon of a beast. This is the Canon EOS 5 DSR, 50.6 megapixels of a mental goodness. Okay, lens-wise, super wide. I'm going 15 millimeters using the IRIX 15mm f2.4 lens, and on that, on the front of which, I'm going to be using the KANI filter holder in order to hold the filter in place. Alright, so without much more ado, I'm going to get ready. It is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, takes about an hour to get up there. I want to get up there so that we've got enough light just to get bedded in, to have a look around, do a little look around the location and see which is the best area to shoot. And from there, we'll wait until it gets dark. Around about 8:30, 9ish, then we'll start to photograph the Milky Way. We are actually now in the month of September. Getting late in the season, so the appearance of the Milky Way becomes earlier and earlier until November, December time, where it's so early that we can't take the image anymore, and then we won't see the Milky Way again, or be able to photograph the Milky Way again until next March. Okay, that's just the way it is. But let's head out there and see what we can do with this funky little filter at Sea Glass Beach, Okinawa. Cool beans.
the sky looks better through my polarized sunglasses than it does without my sunglasses.
So this is going to be our location for shooting tonight, all down here. And with this crazy colours in the sky, I'm going to actually zoom down right now and try some, just a little bit of photography down here, get the beach in, try and get a little bit of the colour, and we've got these nice rocks and the ocean, so let's give it a bash. Well, here we are, we're in Sea Glass Beach, and it's probably about an hour's drive from the south, but the light drops off super quick. We got here, we just got the tail end of the sunset, so we tried some long exposure photography, managed to get a couple of nice shots, but the main trip for up here tonight was for me in order to try and test the light pollution filter by KANI, and here you can see I've got it in place at the moment. It just slips over on this filter holder. I do have the KANI filter holder, but I'm actually using this one with the IRIX 15mm because it's very quick, very simple. Okay, slots in over the lens on an adapter ring, and there it is in place. Okay, the filter itself, there you go. Got it in place in the first filter slot, and what we do have here is we've got the Milky Way in the sky just arching right over the top of us now. Okay, so I'm going to, over the next couple of hours, I'm going to take a few different locations, do back-to-back shots and show you the difference. Settings wise, I'm using at the moment, I'm going to start off with ISO 3200. But there is my main concern, and the reason why I've got the filter is there is a lot of light pollution in this region. To the north we've got one of the American bases, and to the south we've got the city of Uruma, and that in itself is going to create a lot of light noise, especially over the ocean or over this coastline where it is. So we're going to put the filter to good test. I'm going to start out at ISO 3200, but I may drop that down, because what you may find is that by dropping down the ISO you actually increase the contrast because of the noise pollution. Seems a bit weird. Hopefully the images will speak for themselves. I've got the aperture completely wide open, f2.4 on this lens, 15mm, and we should be good to go. My shutter speed is 30 seconds, going by the rule of 500. 500 divided by my focal length of 15 gives me 32 whatever seconds. I ran that down to 30 seconds, that way I don't have to use a shutter release cable. I can use the default maximum shutter time of 30 seconds in the camera. So good to go. I'm going to go off shooting. I don't have a camera that can film in the dark, so I will meet you back in the studio probably tomorrow morning, my morning, and show you the results. Happy hunting. Hey guys, back from the shoot last night at Sea Glass Beach, shooting the Milky Way, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the results that I got using the ambient light pollution reduction filter from KANI. I've got 4 scenarios. I'll probably just show you a couple, which are the good ones. I've got 4 scenarios in total where I was shooting back-to-back filter, no filter, and what I'll do now is I'll show you those. This is my screen. I've got all of the images on there, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick two of the images to begin with. This first pair, which is a pair that was shot in portrait mode. Let's go down to the XY comparison button, and there we go. We've got both of the images next to each other, and the first thing you notice is the very definite shift in the color temperature of the image. To get critical on looking at the image, all we need to do then is just hit the expand or the zoom button. You'll notice that there is a bit of a discrepancy in my on the horizon in the image. I guess when I was putting the filter into the filter holder, maybe I nudged the camera a little bit, and you can see that there is a bit of a discrepancy in the height of my horizon. However, these two shots were shot back to back. What you'll notice with the image that I shot without the filter, I did actually put a little bit of light in the foreground just to give some colour onto the rocks in the foreground, as opposed to having them just as the silhouettes as they appear in the shot with the filter. But that's beside the point. In the image you can see the Milky Way, you can see the light in the background, the light pollution, you've got the ocean in the bottom. We do have the passage of an aircraft in both the images. We're in a region of the island where there is a very heavy presence, or military presence, so they do use a lot of aircraft and helicopters, so just something that is part of life here in Okinawa. But the image itself, you've got them side by side, you can see very much there is that shift to a more bluer image when shooting with the filter. Okay, bear in mind as well that when I shoot at night time, I always generally tend to use Kelvin white balance, and I always come down a little bit just to cool the image down a little bit, to try and get rid of the overbearing yellows and oranges that you'll find at night time that are emitted by the very warm burning gas that is halogen in street lamps and street lighting, etc., etc. So that may also augment the apparent blue shift in the image of the filtered shots that we have here. Okay, but if we zoom into the image, you can see then if I zoom in and if I then grab and scroll through the areas of the image, I can very clearly zoom into the areas and compare each area in the image. Now we've got this little headland here, and I think it is probably the best area to compare in the shot. You've got this piece of land over here, you've got it in that, and just next to that you've got this really bright set of lights. Now in the unfiltered image you can definitely see that light impacts quite heavily on the clarity and the contrast of the rise in elevation of land to the left as we look at it. Okay, whereas in the filtered shot you'll see that light doesn't seem to intrude as much. You've got more definition, you've got more contrast of that landmass in the image, and I think that in itself is enough proof to suggest that there is a benefit to shooting with this filter. It's going to be interesting to do a back-to-back shoot. Again, I've got another one planned in the urban environment. The reason that I say that is because the ambient light that we've got here in this image is actually quite some distance away. It is a couple of kilometers away, maybe more, and so it's easier, I think, to reduce the glow and for the filter to work effectively when the light source is that far away. Okay, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to go out in the next couple of weeks into the main city of Naha here in Okinawa and do a night shoot, urban environment, but because I'm going to be surrounded by the halogen lights and the street lights and all of the warm burning gases that we find that illuminate our cities and metropolises, it's going to be very interesting to see how this filter holds up in that environment. So for the landscape shooting that I carried out last night in the Milky Way, it's a winner on this case. So it's going to be interesting, like I said, to see how that compares in the urban environment. So yeah, I think there's a very definite benefit to shooting with this filter. And in the next couple of weeks, like I said, I'm going to be doing another video in the urban environment. So please, please, please feel free to subscribe. Little button down there, and you will get a notification if you hit the notifications bell to get notifications. You will be notified when that next video is ready, and I'm hoping that it will be ready in a couple of weeks. Okay, so until then, happy shooting, get out, take lots of pictures and enjoy it, and until the next time, I will see you very soon.